Hello internet, and welcome to a very soon-to-be long-winded discussion about the importance of books and reading. I have recently started interning at the World Literacy Foundation and I absolutely love it, it's so cool. But the one thing I will say about the World Literacy Foundation is that it has made me really aware of just how vital reading is to people. I have lived my whole life reading books, and to know that there are like 700 million people out there who can't read books is devastating. I think books really contribute to how a person is formed, and it's been proven that places with lower rates of literacy and education will inevitably lead to things like more violence, misogyny, and just all kinds of horrible things. I thought the best way to sort of get this idea across that I'm trying to present is to talk about the books that have really informed who I've become and like the books that I've grown up with, because I think, like music, books can just sort of be a part of who you are. So I'm going to start where all people my age generally start, and that's with Harry Potter. I was 7 years old when my mum first started reading me the books, and by the time I was 14 I knew every spoiler, I knew every detail, I knew the movies line for line, and I was eternally pissed off about Ginny Weasley's transition from being book Ginny to film Ginny. Don't start me. I grew up with Harry Potter and that was great, and by the time that I was reading on my own I was reading things like the Penny Pollard series by Klein and Just Disgusting. There's a story in that where one kid decides that he doesn't like Brussels sprouts and the only way he can get out of eating Brussels sprouts for dinner is to put them down his jocks, go to the toilet and flush them down the toilet. I don't know, but it was really hilarious when I was 9. Then there were things like Cornelia Funke and her series Inkheart and books like Dragon Rider. These books made me kind of realise that, hey, I can escape to other worlds when I read, aside from having my mum read them to me and having Universal Studios show me how they can do that. Then it kind of came full circle when I started high school. I was still really into the Harry Potter series and I was seeing the films then, and I'd kind of just grown up seeing the films. It was almost like a routine, like once a year there would be a new Harry Potter book and then there would be a new film and you would go see the new film and then you would read the new book, and it was just, it went on until I was probably about 14, and then by the time I was 14 they'd started doing more films, so by the time I was 18 the last film came out and I was just like because I'd already read all the books but I knew it was going to happen, but I didn't expect them to do it so well. And then when I was in year 8 I decided that it would be a really good idea to read the Twilight series. But I did correct. I started reading books like Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen and Romeo and Juliet, even though I didn't have to study it for like another year. It was great. Then towards like end of high school I found that I was kind of being pushed to read things that my teachers wanted me to read, but I still managed to read a lot on my own. My favourite book towards the end of high school was definitely The Perks of Being a Wallflower, but at the same time I was also reading things like Under Milkwood and Heart of Darkness, which is so friggin' amazing. Like, if you ever get the chance to read Joseph Conrad's book Heart of Darkness, it is like the most intense thing you will ever read. My mind like exploded, and my lit teacher just had the biggest look of satisfaction on his face when we finished it, because he just knew he had obliterated the minds of all the 17-year-olds in the room. Then when I finished school I was super duper lost. I was dating, I was breaking up with people, I was doing all kinds of things. It was fantastic. But at the same time I was reading things like The Secret Lives of Buildings and Julie and Julia, which it's an experience. The point I'm sort of getting at is these books kind of made me experience stuff. And then I also started reading things like books by Lena Dunham and Amy Poehler and Tina Fey. I also read a lot of Sylvia Plath. I am gonna say that if you're managing to drop Sylvia Plath into your conversations, it's probably not going very well on a date anyway, so don't do that. Towards my end of university experience I would find that every time I had a lunch break or something I would go to readings in Carlton and just wander around and buy books. Like, so many Oliver Jeffers books. I don't know, they're just so colourful and fun, and I think because I like to illustrate and write and doodle and things, it's just really cool to have other people's work in book form because you can just appreciate how much effort went into it. I also started reading things like a lot of young adult fiction. I got really into Rainbow Rowell. She's amazing. I actually only recently just finished Carry On, and at the time had only read Eleanor and Park, which just made me feel feelings I didn't even know that I had. And I'd kind of tried to ignore the fact that John Green was huge. There's like this massive stigma where people are like either obsessed with that kind of writing or they're really against that kind of writing, and I wasn't for it or against it. It's just because I had gone through that whole Twilight phase and I was very aware of fiction books that make you kind of submissive to the author, and I didn't want to do that. I was very aware that I didn't want to be in some romanticized bullshit thing. And then I started reading John Green and I was like, what kind of life have I been living? The man is a genius. I also recently read I Am Malala by Malala Yousafzai. It's incredible. And things like Stephen Hawking's A Brief History of Time, which blew my mind entirely. The point that I am getting at is that I would not be as excited about life and as driven and as enthusiastic about things like outer space and theories and ideas if I hadn't read books. I wouldn't be as empathetic as I am now if I hadn't read The Perks of Being a Wallflower, because it opened my mind to how people suppress things and how mental illness affects other people, not just the protagonist character either, like the general sub-characters as well. And there were other books like the Harry Potter series that kind of encouraged me to deal with other people who have different personalities. I'm telling you now, there are so many personalities going on. Like Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix and Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince is just hormones galore, like and then books like Heart of Darkness and Death of Napoleon made me so aware of just the brilliance of the written word. You can see an image that the author is painting, but you can also see the way they've structured the words and the way it flows and the meter, and you're just like I think these books really shaped who I am, as well as my kind of morals and my goals. And there's a lot of books that I haven't mentioned, like the previous video that I did about books that have shaped me specifically have probably not been mentioned in here because it's just sort of assumed. There are so many books that I've read, and there are billions that I haven't even mentioned in this video because I just can't list them all. It's too much. The point I'm trying to make is we are very fortunate to live in a world that has places like libraries with books that you can access for free and get any kind of information that you want, and you can feel the paper and read the words. It is just such a comfort to pick up something tangible and weave your way through it and experience something. I have cried in several books. I don't think it's shameful even slightly. It's the best feeling to know that you're engaged with something and you can keep it and pass it down and share it with people. It's just awesome. On that note, I have got an article to write. I made this video in the hopes that it would help me kind of process my thoughts, and I think I did that. So I'll see you later. Bye.